of that. I can't promise that it's going to be on the very initial persistent server like beta or alpha because there's a lot of things to get done, but that will be on the list.
We have to be very careful about letting people even read our data because there's danger to that for all the fans. So we'll have to look at that carefully.
And if are huge guilds gonna have any kind of impact on the universe? I mean, if two huge guilds collide and go to war, will it impact in any way the universe?
No, definitely. That's kind of part of the. I mean, kind of what we were talking about earlier, because there's been a few questions along these lines. Is that we're setting up everything to do frequent content updates. We don't want to do big drops. So the idea is that we're doing enough frequent content drops where we're basically like 1 week's a star system, another week's a new ship, another week could be like a series of missions in a corner of a galaxy, and we're also updating sort of like the gossip and news from around the galaxy, and that's all stuff that is dynamically done, right? So as the players are playing and we're generating content, we're looking at kind of what's happening, who's fighting who, and in our player base, and then that's getting reflected into the fiction that, for instance, we're like going to be pushing around the universe. So, like, if you go into a space bar and you hear about a turf war between two guilds and squadrons in a certain corner of the galaxy, that could be completely something that's player driven, and we fed it into the system where someone else in another part of the galaxy can say, "Oh, look, there's combat or battle going on over here."
And so on ships then, how much ships are going to be in the initial release?
Whatever they're doing, man.
They're all. I mean, it's all going to be game credits. So, I mean, I think the base ship that you can have when you start is the Aurora, and then after that, we haven't figured out exactly the appropriate sort of credit to dollar exchange rate, so to speak. And so I think a bit of that factors into it. So we're not sure. It's kind of hard for me to say, okay, this ship's going to be 100,000 credits, or this ship's going to be 10,000 credits, or this ship's going to be 1,000,000. I mean, it's not going to be that. But I think that you could probably think that something like the Constellation is I don't know, 250 to 500,000 credits or something.
At least. You're probably getting a better deal now than you will when you get to the game credits.
The way it works for the game stuff is, if the Constellation is 225 now, and let's just say arbitrarily we say it's 1,000 credits to $1, that would probably be something like 300 or 350,000 credits in the game currency versus what we see in terms of the dollars and stuff that would be now. So
so how many ships are we going to be on launch? Can we see them?
I don't know. We basically have committed to 14, but there certainly will be more than that. I can't say exactly how many are going to be, but there's going to be more than 14 that we've announced.
There's some Vandal ships for Squadron 42. There's some Jean ships. We don't know. Numbers exactly? No. A lot.
Alright. And when I'm on foot, when I'm seeing my avatar and I'm boarding a vessel, can I switch to first person and third person mode or not?
Haven't made the decision. Obviously, first person's definite. I haven't made a decision about being able to switch to third person. You'll definitely be able to switch to third person between first and third person in the hangar, just so you can see your cool character walking around. I don't know on boarding potentially. I'm not really that much against it because I think you'll probably want to be in first person for most of the combat.
Yeah, of course. A question I get asked a few times on the French forum about the translation of the game. You said it's going to be fully localized, but is it subtitles or voiceover in French?
No, it'll be voiceover in French. It'll be so you basically, I think we're doing what they call eFigs, which is English, Italian, French, German, Spanish. So in that will be dubbed. as well as subtitles.
And to the translation of the website, when is it going to be translated in French?
That's a good question. The new website actually has built-in translation, so we can kind of do that. And obviously, it's been built in Montreal, so they're sort of slightly, partial to French.
From the French perspective.
Although it maybe not the same French that you guys.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Oh, it's almost the same. Yeah, close enough.
I think on the written
It's a
side,
little bit.
the pronunciation is the biggest thing. So we haven't quite decided that. I mean, the actual things are set up in such a way that we could potentially have some of the community come in and translate stuff, because the actual web platform allows, different languages in sort of the translation sort of infrastructure
Great
it
idea.
has.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, well,
They're in Montreal, so they basically have to do bilingual stuff.
Yeah.
So
We've set it up in a way where a lot of things are tokenized, where it's dynamic and you can set a setting in your settings, your language, and it'll fill those fields with the proper translations based on your settings. But we haven't translated the full site.
yeah, because
We will
I mean,
definitely need help from the community in order to get that all translated in all the different languages.
well, I mean, we are already translating everything you guys come out with in French, so we'll be glad to help.
Yeah.
And so on to dogfighting module. Will you be able to pilot every ship or only yours, only the ships you pledged for?
only the ships you pledged for.
Alright. So you won't be able to test other ones and to help debug them?
Not presently, no.
Alright.
Kind of the idea is you play off the ships that you pledged for.
Alright. And is it planned in the beta or in the game to have some sort of simulator when you can try out new ships before you buy one?
Yes, definitely. So there's definitely going to be a simulator, and we'll also have an aspect of that in the dogfighting module. So in the dogfighting module, you don't necessarily have to fight against other players. You can fight against AI in a sort of simulator arena, so to speak.
So in combat, how do you resupply? Can you resupply first? If you use, let's say you're a bomber, you make a torpedo one. Can you resupply to another ship on the battle?
No, we'll definitely have the ability for some of the bigger ships to be able to essentially help resupply, whether it's missiles or whatever, fuel, ammo, because we're going to have like projectile weapons as well as the energy weapons, and they have a limited amount of ammo. So all those things, depending on what's happened and depending on what group you're in, potentially that can all be sort of handled in a battle. You can get some help and not have to go all the way home to rearm or anything like that.
We just have to figure out how it will look cool.
Alright. And so we've spoken about player-driven events, but are you guys planning on doing some events, some big events in the game?
You mean like we decide that there's a famine on a planet and there's a...
Yeah, things like that, yeah.
No, we're definitely, that's part of us looking at the game and folding what the player's doing is also part of us playing God in some places, and we say, okay, things are going a little